Hello and welcome again to the Alnwick and Cornhill. So a little bit closer to Edlingham, first station outside of Alnwick, which is a short distance that way. We're over the far side of the Alnwick Moor, coming in west inland, and we've dropped back down into the Allen Valley after coming across the moor. So the line that way is descending towards Edlingham station. The line this way, which we're going to head, is heading back towards Alnwick and Leamington Hall, which is where I started to walk. So that way you can go a little bit further along, but there's quite a few fallen trees and I need to get back, so won't be pursuing that today. But you can get through the gate, just a little bit of rope over the top of the gate to keep it shut. We're now heading towards Alnwick, and the road towards Leamington Hall. There's a minor road that comes off the B6341. You can just hear in the distance cars coming across that, going between Alnwick and Rothbury. But again, it shows you that a lot of this line is just disjointed bits of path that's open to people to walk already. And all it needs in a lot of places is just little connections between different sections. Few trees cleared, stuff like an overhanging gorse branch removed. I mean, nothing wrong with this now. Gets a little bit clarty further up, but this section is absolutely stunning. I mean, coming up the Borderline Greenway from Greensfield in Alnwick next to Taylor Drive is spectacular enough, but this side of the moor is absolutely beautiful. As you're dropping towards the bottom of the valley and the line's curving off to eventually go northward up towards Wooler. But very, very pretty piece of railway this. Had it been open still, I reckon this would be a rival to something like the Festiniog or the South Tynedale Railway on the old Alnwick branch. It was open as a heritage line, but with a lot of structures, with evidence further up, there's some landslips and things. It's probably one that will be difficult to open as a heritage line. There's a lot of embankments that probably would need work to handle trains again, certainly standard gauge, like the line was. But had it remained, probably would have been an incredibly popular line now. But it did close in 1953. It was one of the early casualties of the BR era. It was never economic from an opening in 1887. Quite a late railway to be built actually, but was built to block the North British out of Northumberland, which were intense rivals of the North Eastern Railway. The North British company wanted its own access to Newcastle and was doing it by all sorts of crazy means. So they were behind the Rothbury line, which was going to be part of the Northumberland Central Railway, which was going to go from Newcastle through Scots Gap up to Rothbury, then probably via a tunnel under the moors to Whittingham, up to Wooler, and then rejoin the Scottish network somewhere around Coldstream. This line was built by the North Eastern to go from Alnwick over the moors to avoid Holden Park, which is part of the Duke of Northumberland's private estate, and then rejoin the same pretty similar route to the what became the Alnwick and Cornhill Northumberland Central Railway. Pretty much a shared alignment up along parallel to the River Till, up towards the Tweed, Scottish border, and then into Scotland. So we've been a very indirect route. The North British eventually got running rights down the border counties to Hexham, and then running rights along the Newcastle and Carlisle in Newcastle, but they pursued the Wansbeck Railway at one point to get from the Borders Railway at Reedsmouth across the Wansbeck Valley to Morpeth, then from Morpeth through Bedlington, Blythe, and then eventually into Newcastle that route, because at the time the Blythe and Tyne Company was separate. The North Eastern, fiercely independent little railway, and the plan was Newcastle, Bedlington, Morpeth, Scots Gap, Reedsmouth, up to Riccarton Junction and into Scotland, which would be quite an indirect route to get there. Then changed the border counties to Hexham, so the Wansbeck Railway never really fulfilled that role, as far as I know. Just look at the spectacular scenery along here. But because we're still interested in Northumberland Central, the North Eastern Railway built this, the Alnwick and Cornhill, to block them once and for all from getting their own route in Newcastle. So it was never an economic line, it was done simply to block another business. Shows you the mad rivalry that a lot of earlier railway companies had. But it's left a legacy of a very, very beautiful path through the countryside, which I support becoming the Greenway, and support eventually becoming a huge circular route through Northumberland, away from roads that can be safely used by everybody, on foot, on bikes, horses. I mean, who wouldn't want to enjoy a wander through landscapes like that? And all the benefits it would bring. People walking to pubs or cafes, staying in the area, walking it in sections. And it wouldn't cost a huge amount either. I mean, you can see already it's pretty decent. I mean, when it gets a bit wet, it can be a bit different, be a bit cloudy and muddy and difficult to get across, but absolutely stunning bit of line. So to give you context to where I am, I'm near Leamington Hall, which is a bit west of Alnwick. You can see there's been cows and things along here, it's a bit tuned up. And you get the odd boggy patch, even though it's been dry for a few days. Some of these cuttings never properly dry out, as evidenced by all the reeds and things growing. But you can get along. But this is where investment in cleaning the drains out, maybe he's putting down some gravel, and it's just to give the surface that bit better, make the surface a little bit better, would go a long way, and make it an all-weather surface so you could use it when it's, like in Northumberland, it's been raining a lot. It wouldn't just turn into a swamp like something out of some. But you can see here, looks like a bit of evidence that the embankment side slumped at some point. Looks like it's been that way a long time. But it shows you the difficulties of old railways that were built, even though it was well built in terms of structures and things. You can see that cutting sides and things like that are vulnerable to slipping, or embankments to slump, things like that. So it's likely, if you did try and reopen it as a railway, even as a heritage line, which is its most likely possibility, there will be quite a lot of challenges. But for a footpath, it can just simply go over the lumps and bumps like that, or if there's a bridge being taken out, you can sort of divert round it for a short way. But the main thing will be coming along here with some saws and stuff, cut away fallen trees like this one. Just quickly step over it. As you can see, even though it's been dry a few days, plenty of water still around in the ditches, which, bear in mind, it hasn't been probably looked at much since the 50s. Doesn't look to be functioning too badly. You can see here we're getting a bit wetter, a bit more clarity on this stretch. But there's plenty of wildlife around, lots of birds, lots of insects, which is true on the borderway part, where it's quite sympathetically cut through on the old track bed, but left a large part of the embankment sides and cutting sides untouched, meaning got a lovely trail through nature. Which is enjoyable in itself. I mean, for people who are into the railways like myself, the novelty's walking it. See what I mean about being clarity? But aside from odd little stretches like that, it's not too bad. It just needs a little bit of fettling and it'll be alright. You see, farms, countryside, absolutely stunning views. And there you can see, just in the top distance there, the little road that leads you up onto the B6341 between Alnwick and Rothbury. Plenty of birds running around. We'll just go through the field. Block it back up. Now we're walking back along another stretch, back up a little bit of an embankment. So we're just going across, or get the bridge to where you would cross over the Leamington Road, Leamington Bank. Up to the limit of where you can walk. So there we go, Highways Act 1980, saying that this way is not dedicated to the public. Bridge identifier, Alnwick and Cornhill Railway, Bridge 86, over Leamington Bank. Because hopefully you can just see on the other side, you've got a pretty clear looking track bed just the other side of this bridge. So for 20-30 foot of brambles being cut off the bridge deck, you could have lovely half-an-hour walk from here and back, from this point along to where I started and back again. But for the time being, cut back down to the road. Back to the car. I hope you've enjoyed that little walk. Just trying to find where you get down the embankment. So, just a little scramble down the hill. Through all the snowdrops. Looking quite pretty. Move the little fence panel. And that's it. Back on the road. So that's another little stretch of the Alnwick and Cornhill. Thank you for watching.